Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy. You can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. Hello, fans. Welcome back to the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez here, your host, and we have a celebration. It's our birthday. Happy birthday, podcast. It has officially been 1 year since I launched this podcast. So 52 weeks, more than 52 episodes, actually. I think I'm a little past a year right now. My very first episode was released November 12th of 2020, episode number 1, My Journey with Nutrition and Sport. And here we are now, episode 54. A year later, at the end of November in 2021, and I'm just so thrilled. So I thought that this would be a great moment to have an episode where I shared with you guys, my passion and my reason for starting this podcast and, what this last year has meant, not only for me, but for all of you listeners, or who I call fans. I hope you've picked up on that by now. It was actually listeners who gave me that feedback, right? Fan, F-A-N, Female Athlete Nutrition. So that's why I say it at the beginning of almost every episode. I say, hey, fans, because you're a fan of Female Athlete Nutrition. Also, this is like a weird side note, but I must have a thing with the letter F in my life because I've throughout my entire life, the letter F has always come up. And so between, you guys being fans, Female Athlete Nutrition, my slogan of becoming fierce, fit, and fueled, which we're going to get into in this episode today, all Fs. As I was talking about this episode and writing out some notes and thinking about what I wanted to share with you guys, everything that came up started with an F. I was like, I want to tell you guys the foundation, and then I want to share with you my fears and my frustrations, but then I want to share with you what fun I had and the feedback I've gotten. And I'm like, what is it with me and Fs? Always talking about food as fuel and fuel your body. And there's a thing with me and the letter F, but I hope you are not giving this podcast an F rating. I hope that this podcast is an A+ rating for you as a fan. And that's exactly what I want to share. As I just mentioned, my passion, why I started this podcast and where it's taken us over the past year and perhaps where it's going to go as well. So let's dive into it, fans. As I mentioned, a year ago in 2020, I started with releasing my very first episode, a solo episode of My Journey with Nutrition in Sport. And, my reasoning for starting this podcast, I think from a business perspective, it was another way to just spread my message and get my voice out there. So I am being transparent that as a registered dietitian and the owner and founder of my business, Rise Up Nutrition, I have this message that I want to share with people, and a podcast was a way to do that. I do realize that some people are not business owners and just start podcasts just for great conversation. And certainly, I hope you've heard that. You don't have to be a paying client to benefit from these amazing conversations that we're having on here. But for me, I am so passionate about what I do as a registered dietitian, as a sports dietitian. This was another way. It's so great that I am changing the lives of the clients that I work with and that we work with here at Rise Up Nutrition. But yeah, that's not good enough for me. I've always said that so many female athletes struggle with nutrition, struggle with disordered eating, struggle with body image. And I'm on a mission to stop that. I really am, because I do not believe it has to be this way. I do not believe it should be this way. And I really think we can change the future of how people have a relationship with food and body in sports, especially women in sport, because let's face it, even though it's kind of hard to believe this, it's kind of a new thing for the things that women are doing in sports these days. We weren't doing 50 years ago. We flat out were not doing 50 years ago. And so it's still kind of something where we need to rise up together and fix this problem of fueling in female athletes so that we can maximize our potential in sport. And starting this podcast, the foundation of this podcast was another way to spread my message that you can perform better without having food be the enemy. Food can be your friend, that you can overcome disordered eating, that this does not have to be a lifelong problem, and that you can maximize your potential as a female athlete. And I want to share this goodness with as many people as possible. So that was the foundation of this, was another way for me to share this amazing message, a message that, maybe I wish I had heard when I was younger, a message I didn't receive when I was younger. And I think, another reason for starting this podcast, if I'm being quite frank, is I really do love speaking and talking. I think throughout my professional career, that's actually been one of my favorite things to do. I love giving presentations. I love teaching, and I love leading. And that's what I love to do with my clients the most too. When I'm having a session is I really love teaching them and leading them. And yeah, I really like public speaking. And that's, I think, a little bit unique, which is funny too, because I do have fair skin that gets read very, very easily. So it's funny because you might see me on stage giving a public presentation and I'll blush, and people might say, "Oh, are you nervous?" And I'm like, "No, I'm excited. I'm thrilled." But I do blush. I have that very sensitive skin that gets red and very rosy when I'm in front of a crowd. But I love it. It thrills me because I really want to teach people. I don't know everything, but what I do know, why would I keep that all to myself? So that was the foundation of starting this podcast, was another way to spread this amazing message that should be heard, to empower female athletes, and something I knew would bring me joy in the process as well. But all of that goodness, all of that foundation that was laid doesn't mean that there wasn't any fear behind it. I was absolutely very nervous to put episode number 1 out there of my journey with nutrition in sport. And even that one, I think I might have recorded that 2 or 3 times. I'm not quite sure, because I had it in my head what I wanted to say, and then I recorded it, and then I got so self-conscious about it. There's certainly a lot of fear. As much as I like spreading my message, just to be blunt, it's like, does anybody want to hear this? That was a really big insecurity that I had. I also didn't know if it was any good. Especially those first few episodes. You put a few episodes out there and, I'm not necessarily interviewing people. I'm just talking to myself and then putting it out to the world. And I'm like, is it good? Does anybody like it? Does anybody care? Is anybody listening? I also had a lot of fear in the beginning that what I had to say, has all been said before. And I still have this fear. Full transparency. A lot of these fears I still have. I'm just a year later, a little bit more comfortable with it. But, that imposter syndrome of like, it's all been done before. It's all been said before. I certainly, although I take a lot of pride in my work, I'm not necessarily spreading like groundbreaking, brand new information. I'm not the scientist per se. I'm not the researcher. I'm not the discoverer, if that's even a word. I'm sharing things that have already been discovered, that have already been researched, that are already, and I'm just sharing that information. So part of me, I always have that insecurity of like, it's already been done. It's already been said. Like, who really needs to hear this? And that definitely has gotten in my way throughout this process. And I have to really remind myself that, sure, maybe it's been said before, maybe it's been done before, but there's somebody somewhere out there who hasn't heard it yet. And maybe, just maybe, they'll hear this, right? And that's been my motivation to push past this fear, is that somewhere somebody hasn't heard it yet. And I need to get to that person. So, hey, if you're one of those listeners that's like, some of her episodes are okay and some of them aren't because it's been said and done before, I get that, but not everybody knows it yet. And I do have a special place in my heart for some of our young female athletes. And we were all, no matter what your age, we were all there at one point, and they truly haven't heard it yet. And so we want to make sure that nutrition information that we're spreading in the world is something that, can change their lives for years to come. Because I know for my listeners that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, like, we wish we had this information when we were younger. So yeah, I've had to push past the fear, push past the insecurity, push past the doubt, push past the imposter syndrome that I've had, and push past all the goofy stuff. Like, it is really hard to listen to your own voice out there on the internet, especially when I say the wrong words sometimes. I remember this episode where I think I used the word epitome when I meant to use the word pinnacle. And I don't know, that sticks in my brain. I remember that of I didn't use the word in the right context. Or when I'm interviewing clients, I would say the same opening phrase for 8 episodes in a row. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, isn't this so annoying to people? Or repeating myself. I think there were probably 12 episodes in a row where I kept saying quote unquote, quote unquote, quote unquote, 8 times in every single episode for 12 episodes in a row. And so, yeah, I know I'm being silly right now, but yeah, that's legit. I'm not perfect. It's just me talking into a mic and being me. And it, because of that, honestly, even though there's a lot of fear and I've had to push past the fear, it's amazing how much fun I have had in this process. Right now, as I'm reviewing this past year, I'm laughing at how many times I said quote unquote. And, or another amazing guest. I can laugh at myself now. And I hope you guys can laugh at me too from time to time. I know I'm not necessarily cracking jokes, but it's been fun. Right. So yes, there's been a lot of fear, but it's also been so much fun. It has been so fun, not only to record these solo episodes because, I get to just be me, but wow, all the amazing guests that we've gotten to interview throughout the past year. That's been so much fun. I mean, I have interviewed Olympians. I have interviewed gymnasts, runners, top researchers in this field of health, nutrition, wellness, sports, performance. It's just been such a thrill to interview. And I'm going to highlight a few people that I just had so much fun. I mean, and honestly, every single guest has been fun, but to highlight a few, from interviewing Olympians like the gymnast Taryn Humphrey in episode 14, or our gold medalist pole vaulter in Tokyo Olympics, episode 49 with Katie Naget. I mean, getting to interview Olympians was just amazing. Getting to interview my own clients and bring, a different perspective to you guys as an audience from episode 6 with Mary Kane, one of our most popular episodes still to date, as somebody who has been so vocal in rising up and lifting up female athletes, standing up for themselves, to mental health, to energy deficiency, and her being one of my clients as well, to episode 41 with Callie Schweikart, another one of my clients and pro obstacle course racer, and her sharing her story. It was just so powerful of them to share their personal experiences, to experts like episode 19 with Dr. Emily Krause, another great expert in the field of bone health, and episode 23, Nancy Clark, who's a fellow sports dietitian, one of the first sports dietitians in the field. She's kind of like, when I got to meet her and interview with her, it was like, wow, I'm talking to, somebody who paved the way for me as a sports dietitian, all the way, to having fun with interviewing, having a conversation with my dad, episode number 15, my college friend, Lisa Wilson, who is a pro hammer thrower and went to our U.S. Olympic trials. That's episode 36. We just had so much fun. And the more recent episodes with my teammate here at Rise Up Nutrition, Jenna Stranzel, episode 30 and 50. So we just had so much fun getting to talk to all of these people, hear their story, share their message, share their knowledge. And I hope that you've had fun following along as well. And continuing with my silly little F theme here, although it was so much fun, I'm not going to lie, there was some frustration along the way too, some craziness of the first year of launching a podcast of, finding guests to interview and coordinating when to set up these interviews when I'm already, super busy with my job and my clients. And so finding guests, coordinating with those guests, being prepared for them, figuring out what the heck I'm going to ask them. I think that in my normal life and business, I'm the one always guiding the conversation with my clients and coaching them. And I kind of had to relearn, hey, on a podcast, how do you interview somebody? What are the good questions to ask? Or is this an interview, or should we be having more of just a conversation? So it's been fun to kind of go back and forth and build that skill myself as an interviewer. It certainly came with some frustrations along the way of like, oh, I don't think I asked very good questions, or I'm not sure if I, really articulated my point as well as I wanted to. Especially with some of the solo episodes, I remember sometimes just sitting here being like, I want to get this point across. And I'm, talking to myself in a microphone and just feeling like, I don't know what the heck to say right now. So there is certainly some frustrations, but it's always worth it. Or at least I'm seeing that now 1 year after launching this podcast because of the feedback that I've gotten and that we've gotten from hosting this podcast. One of the best ways that I've gotten feedback so far is because I always say that if you resonate with what I'm talking about, if you are struggling, if you think you need help, to take action and reach out for help. And that is one of the best ways that I've gotten feedback, because people are reaching out for help. They're clicking the link in the show notes, they're heading to my website, and they're booking a call with me. Some of those people have turned into clients, and some of those people are just reaching out to get, that push in the right direction. And I've gotten that feedback of, wow, they're listening. This is resonating. This is making an impact. And that's why I keep doing it. That's why I keep showing up, because I'm getting the feedback from you. If I wasn't getting this feedback, if it wasn't helping, I don't know that I would keep showing up to keep recording episodes. So thank you for all the feedback that I've gotten. I've gotten people sending me some DMs over on social media, Instagram or Facebook, saying that I've been listening to your podcast. It's been so helpful, or even sending me an email that, this has truly helped them in their journey with nutrition and fueling, or maybe even overcoming disordered eating as well. So I am so grateful to receive that feedback, because if not for you, like I said, maybe I wouldn't keep showing up. Hey fans, I hope you are enjoying this conversation so far, and we'll be back to it in just a moment. But first, I want to pause and let you know that this episode is brought to you by the Female Athlete System of Transformation, aka the fast track to overcome disordered eating and use food as fuel to perform at your highest level. The Female Athlete System of Transformation is my unique program and proven systems to guide female athletes to understanding and implementing the proper nutrition for their sport, life, and health. Myself and my team of registered sports dietitians work one-on-one with clients to address their unique needs and counsel them through the nutritional and behavioral changes needed. Many female athletes who resonate with disordered eating, mental guilt around food and body, relative energy deficiency in sport or female athlete triad, amenorrhea, repeat injuries due to negligent nutrition, or frankly, just a lack of knowledge and understanding on their fueling needs, have seen incredible success in the fast track. After years of working as a sports RD, I've compiled the most effective ways for female athletes to learn nutrition, be supported, be challenged, and ultimately find their success with fueling as fast as possible. So don't wait another day. Get to your goals faster by joining the Female Athlete System of Transformation. Look in the show notes or head to the website to book a free call and learn more. Okay, now let's get you back to the conversation. Enjoy. I would actually like to give a quick shout out to some people who gave me some feedback, actually. So over here on Apple Reviews, we've got Odd Pig saying this is your favorite nutrition podcast, that it's helped you so much. You now incorporate donuts and cookies into your diet on the daily, and it's brought your running and general life happiness to a new level. I'm so excited for you, Odd Pig. Thank you so much for that review, and keep fueling. I'm so glad that you've reached that next level with your performance, but also just like happiness in your life. That's what it's all for. 5K Cruiser, shout out to you, saying that Lindsay is so knowledgeable and a great host. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that feedback. This podcast is so important for educating female athletes about proper fueling and nutrition. It's a must listen for any athlete or coach, no matter their level. And Lindsay does a great job leading these conversations. Thank you so much, 5K Cruiser, for listening and tuning in. I think that's amazing. And, I can log on and see that in a year, we've had over 35,000 downloads of this podcast. Now, if I'm being completely honest, I don't know what's considered good or bad in the podcast world, but I think that's pretty amazing. 35,000 listens, or I don't know if it's people, I think it's listens, right? That's cool. And look, we've got people all over the globe, US, of course, which is where I am based here in the States, but also listeners from Australia and South Africa. Shout out to you. Lots of people in all of Europe, Germany, for some reason. You guys are hitting me up. So way to go. Oh, that leads me back, side note, to all my German listeners. My maiden name, Cortez, is my married name. My maiden name is Fau. It has that here in America. We say it with the F sound, Fau. And that's also why I feel like the letter F just follows me around my entire life. Fau is a German. I have German roots. It's actually oddly spelt with a P though, Pfau. That's my maiden name. Cortez is my married name. So shout out to all my listeners in Germany. We've got listeners from Russia, China. I saw there were 2 listeners in Nigeria, 1 in Ecuador. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for listening. If you're tuning into this episode today, we appreciate your support, and I hope that this podcast is helping you. So because of all of this amazing feedback, we are 1 year into the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast, and we're going to keep going. It's because of you. It's because of the following that we have that we're going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep showing up and having more solo episodes, interviewing more people to spread this message of what it really means to be fierce, fit, and fueled. So here I go again. What does that mean? I say it every episode. I say it in the beginning. I usually say it in the end again, to be fierce, fit, and fueled. And if you don't know what that means, I really, after establishing my business and finding my voice with nutrition and everything that I've been doing over the past decade, I really think that nutrition is so much more than just the nutrition. And that's why I say these 3 things. It's about becoming fierce in your mindset. It's becoming fit in your body, and it's becoming fueled for your sport or your athletics or for your life. And that fierce mindset is a huge part. And I think why having these discussions is so important of, really overcoming limiting beliefs and negative self-talk and criticism, overcoming diet culture, overcoming body shaming, and instead of just overcoming it, and finding maybe body acceptance, but actually, can you be fierce in your mindset? Can you be empowered? Can you own it? Can you own your body? Can you own your relationship with food? Can you show up to the starting line of that race or the starting line or the start of your competition and be fierce and be confident and be ready? And that's what having a fierce mindset means. When I say fierce, fit, and fueled, not only do we not have the negative, but we are actually empowered and fierce in everything that we are attacking in life. And then fit. What does it mean to be fit? To me, it's using food to nourish your body and be healthy from the inside out. That's what I mean when I say fit. That you, from a nutrition perspective, right? Because I am a dietitian here, that you are putting in those nutrients that help you be a healthy human from the inside out and support your needs so that you can live a fulfilled life. Nutrition is powerful in how it can impact us. Nutrition can be medicine. Nutrition can be proactive. It can be reactive in your health and in your wellness. And so I want to spread that message of how nutrition can help you be fit from the inside out. And last, I want you as a female athlete to know that you can take it one step further and actually be fueled for your sport, to actually get the nutrition tactics, those sexy sports nutrition stuff that you need to show up and perform your best at peak performance. Maybe it's on, the match for your competition, for your race, for your season, or for all of us recreationally competitive athletes out there, just being fueled for life, showing up with energy and thriving for whatever your purpose is, whatever that goal is that you're striving for. I do want to make that clear too, because so many listeners, obviously you're here because you resonate somewhere with that word athlete, but I think there's also a lot of women that kind of shy away from it and oh, well, I'm not, I just do it for fun, or, just because you're not the best, you kind of discredit yourself. And I don't like that. I think that if you run, you're a runner. If you play soccer, you're a soccer player. If you get out there and play basketball with your kids, you're an athlete, because it's all about that mindset, right? Are you training with a purpose? And if you're training, then you need to fuel for that as well. So whatever, level of athlete you are, I want you to embrace that fierce, fit, and fueled mindset. You deserve to fuel like an athlete if you're going to train your body like one as well. So because of all the feedback that I've gotten from you fans, I know that there is a following that is with me on this mission to become fierce, fit, and fueled. And that's why we're going to keep it going. We're heading into year number 2. Year number 2, I'm going to give you a heads up. Year number 2 of this podcast, I think we're going to keep going with all that great content, but my heads up is that Lindsay has some life changes over here. If you haven't heard, baby is due very, very soon after this episode is released. So as I head on somewhat of a maternity leave, and I say that cautiously because I am a business owner. So I'm so excited to share this very special time with my baby on the way. But things are continuing to roll. That's why I have other dietitians and amazing team members that work with me here at Rise Up Nutrition. First and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to my girl, Ruby, who has been helping me manage this podcast since I think about June or July. And so she has made the world of a difference in the second half of the podcast over the year 2021. And it's thanks to her that we're going to be able to keep releasing episodes while I spend time with baby. So Ruby, thank you so much. You are the best. And we'll keep releasing an episode every week for you. And when I'm ready to start interviewing some new guests for 2022, we'll get some fresh content out to you guys. Now, with that being said, I would love to hear what do you guys want to hear more of? What do you like hearing more of? What haven't you heard yet that you would love for me to do? Do you have a guest in mind that you want me to interview? Do you want to be a guest on this show? I'm open to this. Ruby is open to this. No joke. Send us an email, info.riseupnutrition@gmail.com, so we can keep hearing from you on what you want to hear on this podcast for 2022, our second year of this podcast. And we definitely want to make sure that we are listening to our fans, right? So if you're part of this movement of becoming fierce, fit, and fueled, and you love this podcast and you're a true fan, I want to ask you 3 favors. Oh my goodness, ending this with a favor, ending this with an F as well. I don't know if I'm going to call this title the Happy Birthday Podcast or the 1-year anniversary or just like the episode full of Fs. But I want to ask you 3 favors. The first is that if you've been listening, if you like it, please give us a review. I would love to get a review. We'll keep the links to share a review in the show notes. Apple Podcasts, you can, rate us out of 5 stars. Give us 5 stars. We would love to bump up our ratings so that we can spread this message. The more that we have higher reviews and ratings, the more that our podcast gets pushed out to other female athletes that need to hear this. It gets to the top of those charts. It's suggested in the For You sections. It helps all those algorithms. So if you think this podcast is great, please, please, please do me a favor and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or any other of your listening channels where you can give this a review, 5 stars, thumbs up. We would appreciate that so much. Number 2, I would say, is to tell a friend. It's great to just let the algorithms do their thing, but if you can just share with a friend, shoot them a text message, share it on your story on Instagram when you love an episode, pick up the phone, shoot a text and say, hey girl, you need to listen to this episode. I know you've had nutrition concerns. Like, this has helped me so much. Listen to the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. Share it with a friend. Tell a friend. And the third thing that I would love for you to do is to know always, always, always that if you need help, if you are struggling with your nutrition, if you want to take it to the next level, whether it's that, my mindset around food isn't right, or my internal health isn't right, or my sports nutrition isn't right, then know that you can reach out to us. Head to our website, link in the show notes, book a call with me, and we can teach you how to become fierce in your mindset, fit in your body, and fueled athletically. That is exactly what we do when we are coaching clients to their goals. And we would absolutely love to help you as well, because as much as I am thrilled with this podcast and that we've been here for a year now doing this thing, and it's spreading so much knowledge and I'm getting such great feedback, I think it's wonderful. But at the end of the day, knowledge is not power. You heard me right. Knowledge is not power. We all think that, we can keep reading the books and listening to the podcast, but actually knowledge is not power. It is the application of that knowledge that's power. It's putting it into action in your day-to-day life. That is power. And that's the power of coaching. And what myself and my team of dietitians do here at Rise Up Nutrition is we coach our clients to take this knowledge and apply it, put it into action in your life so it actually makes a true and lasting change for a lifetime to come. So that third favor I'm going to ask of you is that for those of you who are struggling with your nutrition, struggling with disordered eating, struggling with amenorrhea, struggling with energy deficiency, just struggling with figuring out how to put nutrition into action in your life, don't just keep listening to the podcast. I'm glad you are, but that's not what's going to make the true change in your life. We need to put it into practice in your life. And so the favor I'm going to ask of you is to pick up the phone or send an email so that we can actually change your life. 3 favors: give us a 5-star review on your podcast listening channel. 2, tell a friend, spread this message of becoming fierce, fit, and fueled. And 3, pick up the phone and put all of this into action. Let us coach you to your success. Thank you, every single one of you fans, for listening, following, giving me feedback, having fun along the way, helping me push through my fears and frustrations, and believing in this mission and the foundation of becoming fierce, fit, and fueled. Fans, I hope you enjoyed this episode and conversation. If it did help you, then I want to direct you to where you can sign up for our email list. If you think the podcast is helpful, then you will also find our monthly emails helpful and our blogs helpful. And I'm also super excited to drop some new materials on you all very, very soon to include online courses and swag. That's right. Although my specialty is coaching clients one-on-one individually to their goals, I do know many female athletes are looking for more digital resources that they can take advantage of on their own time. And that is coming super, super soon. So if you get on our email list, then you will be one of the very first to know and even get early bird pricing. No joke. I've been working on this and some other big things for Rise Up Nutrition for a while now. And I want you, as a loyal fan, a female athlete nutrition podcast listener, to be one of the first to know about these new and exciting things. So again, if you like the podcast, I'm sure you'll love all the other stuff. So get on our email list and stay in the loop. The direct link to sign up, just submit your email, is in the show notes. So look for that. Or you can always head to our website, www.riseupnutritionrun.com. Thank you so much and happy holidays.